Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Global Game Jam 2022. My name is simply Gabby Snyder, and today I am joined by Esteban who is a
Well,
developer advocate for operations solutions over at Unity. Esteban, how's it going this morning?
I am super excited to be here, and definitely not only excited to be here, like talking to you, but at the same time, right after my workday, I'm actually gonna join my own team at this very game jam. So, hell, yeah, it's definitely a good day.
Awesome. Well, how about you tell us a bit more about yourself? If I had to guess, this isn't your first time participating in a game jam. Just a guess, though.
Oh
I don't know
no,
for sure.
you're guessing correctly, and yes, this is actually my second time joining into the Global Game Jam, and at the same time joining the Global Game Jam through the Game Developers Association chapter of Puerto Rico, the PRGDA. So happily representing my own hometown. I proudly from Puerto Rico, very small island in the Caribbean, right next to Dominican Republic, which is home to a very ridiculously passionate group of game developers and honestly an untapped market that every company should actually reach out to. And yeah, it's a very good opportunity that I'm definitely shouting out to. And I would say that even Unity could benefit from it. So happy to represent as well. So, go
That's
Boricuas. Wipe.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last year, when you participated in the game jam, did you participate with Puerto Rico as well, or were you participating in
Yes.
a more local? Okay, cool. What did
Yeah.
you end up building? I'm curious to hear about the game.
Well, well, we built like this very small scale, but like really quirky game where you were in charge of running around in your own little cart, and you had to rescue puppies around the city, and you had to return them, sort of like a crazy taxi. And makes a crazy taxi in Mario Kart, but you had to like rescue these little puppies and you had to return them to the rightful owner. So it was sort of like a joyous game, and we all had fun. We all failed in the best possible way. And by the way, yes, we did use the little racing cart sample that is offered by Unity and another bunch of free assets. We I worked on some gameplay. I worked on some world design, uh, and everybody just did a little bit of everything. It was a very a lovely opportunity to each of us grow and and again fail in the best possible way, but having fun more than anything.
Yeah,
It
I
was
like how you mentioned that you failed in the best possible way because one of the themes that I recall from our kickoff stream a few days ago was that part of this process and part of being a creative person in general really is learning how to fail and like pick yourself back up, dust the dirt off your shoulders and everything, and
heck yeah.
jump right back into it. So I'm curious if you could tell us more if there was anything in particular that jumped out at you as like a failure that you felt really helped you define that game and define your experience from last year.
Well, um, I I'm somebody that over the years I actually started working. Actually started very early in the day, just making games with XNA, like which is very old technology, like this old game framework from Microsoft. And why the only reason I actually go all the way that back before I even I was living in Puerto Rico at the time, but then I actually moved to Washington State to get my master's degree in this school called Digipen. To learn how to make engines and get better at coding, but the only reason I'm bringing it back all the way back there is because that same sense of failing is something that you should carry with you across your entire career. I would definitely say so. even so that same core feeling that I have from the very beginning when I was even considering if gaming was a career choice or not is the same motivation that still carries me to this day, all the way to our this game jam in 2022, and when we had the our first meeting, with our team. But now, going back to actually your question, and in failing, that's where we actually find the fun of it. Like for example, I've been a coder most of my life, but I told my team, "Hey, team, can I be a little bit selfish and can I take some of these visual effects and making particles and shaders tasks because that's something that I would really like to practice, like step out of my comfort zone." And everybody's like, "Yeah, heck yeah, go for it." And definitely, I'm chasing that feeling. I hope that I answered your question though. And if not,
Yeah,
please,
you
I kind of ramble, but please, please feel free to tell me if I kind of left you hanging in some areas.
No, honestly, I love it when people feel like they're rambling. That means they're so passionate about what they're talking about that they just have so much to say. So I'd love to dive into different parts of that. But I wanted to say I feel you with the XNA framework. I actually got a textbook for that a long time ago, and I never quite made it
Me too.
past the
Me
first couple
too.
of chapters. I'm
Nice.
more of a mobile developer these days. Unfortunately, I didn't end up doing too many games, but still, it's crazy
You're
how
awesome.
that passion and just the act of picking up something and trying and failing to get past the first couple of chapters, but then trying again later on can really propel you through to fantastic places. So
Indeed.
I want to I want to talk a little bit more about like your background since especially with an
Okay.
environment like Game Jam, we have people coming in who are like us and who are just people who code. You have people who do art who maybe have never even considered looking at a game before. You have people who just decide, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to learn a new skill. So how did you sort of find your way? Like, how did you end up where you are today, starting with that XNA textbook years ago?
Um, so that, in fact, when I was starting with the XNA textbook, I was in the middle of getting my computer engineering degree from back home in a university in Puerto Rico, La Poli. Because I know there's gonna be a lot of audience from back home listening, they'll understand. But I was, and I was actually getting the degree because I actually jumped from originally wanting to be an architect, and but once I got into the nitty gritty details of actually having to make a building actually stand and work, I'm like, oh man, this is kind of boring. So I switched it up, and I wanted to start learning coding, and but then even though I enjoyed coding and there was something missing. So when I started making games, I remember that we actually gather a bunch of people and gather enough signatures to make an elective to open a a game development course that didn't actually exist. There was this professor who opened an empty room in a college and like, oh, y'all want to use it to make games? Go for it. And we just sat there ourselves just by sheer willpower of wanting to learn. And we just followed these online tutorials and reference books. And from that's when I actually, like a light bulb hit in my head, was like, oh, I see. This is the level building, world building that I kind of enjoy from making Legos that I sort of like chased when I thought I wanted to be an architect, mixed with the puzzle solving of coding. Like heck yeah, like I'm ready to go. So we some friends and some of those friends that were in that class, they actually started their own company. They graduated before me, but then I later on joined them from that same feeling of, oh, wait a minute, Esteban was one of those. Yeah, he's one of those that actually helped us open that class. Let's bring him over to our team. And by the way, to anybody who's listening, that's one of the powers of making a strong connection and being not necessarily being a good teammate, but like being a good team player and like supporting each other. That's where you establish those connections that will actually help you in the future. Because in the end, that was for like me transferring from like a little coding class all the way to like helping somebody with an indie development studio. But later down the road, that actually translates to, oh, remember this person that we worked at this game at this company? Let's actually bring them over here, and that's a future reference for you as for an employer. It really it is what it is. It actually happens like that. But to go back to your question of like how I actually got here, jumping ahead, but I love that puzzle solving and world building so much that I decided to make a career out of it. So, and I saw where were a lot of companies and where were good schools to learn. I saw RIT, I saw Full Sail, but DigiPen caught my eye the most because I was really more on the technical side. And when I heard, oh, you get to learn your own how to make your own game engines and design and get to learn a lot of physics, graphics, and game and AI. I was like, all right, cool, I'm sold. I chased that feeling of wanting to fail, but when I got there, I found out that I actually enjoyed making tools more than actual games, weirdly enough. So I came for the games in the school, but I stayed for making tools. So eventually, thankfully, one of the things that the school had was they brought in a lot of companies for um, to seek out students, to seek out new talent. Thankfully, and Unity was there one of those days. So I actually ended up getting a UX development internship, and
Ooh.
that mix of wanting to make games, but that it morphed into wanting to make tools for gamers, brought me over to Unity, and why I'm actually a developer advocate today, because simply enough, I actually miss the part about working with making more content that is game related. Even though I was making tools, um, I got too far away from games. I'm like, wait a minute, well, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. So I'm happy now to be a developer advocate, somebody who also helps make content for teaching and using Unity in cool new ways and show users what it can do, and also interact with users in either events and talks like this. I love it. So definitely, it's sort of it's sort of like a weird stock projection of my story of how I got here. But hopefully, I answered your question, Gabby.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see the parallels in how, like, you were so passionate about getting started with game development that you and your fellow classmates created a course. That's like no easy feat. I mean, my alma mater like would not have that, quite frankly. And now
We
you're over
insisted
at
a lot.
Unity and and now you're over at Unity and you're sort of doing the same thing, you know. I am a little bit curious about what a developer advocate means. In your case, it sounds like you're doing a little bit of like education, outreach. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to sort of highlight about your role or like, you know, educate people about what that really means?
Being a developer advocate for me, because and you're totally right, it can actually vary from different person or even different company. But at least for me, right now, I represent it says multiplayer solutions because I am like recently Unity launched their like Unity gaming services. One of those services is netcode for game objects, so an SDK that allows Unity developers to add networking functionality to their games. So I am they call me the expert, but I'm actually still but I feel but and yes, I'm trying to dominate the field as much as I can, but I'm still learning myself, and that's actually part of a developer advocate actually does. That person tries to put themselves in the shoes of the users and try to face the challenges that users would face and also interact with users to see what kind of problems they're facing with the technology that the developer advocate represents, and then sort of like um, bring that feedback to different teams, whether it's the developers, whether it's marketing team, whether or whoever is interested in general. And you're very correct. We also we also make content in order to teach people how to use a certain technology, whether that's being making demos, making videos. It's a weirdly varied gig, and I'm actually enjoying the sheer lack of knowledge of what's going to happen next. And hopefully it makes sense. But I like that feeling of not knowing. I like that feeling of not knowing what I'm going to learn next. And if you think about it, it sort of like relates back to that. Where am I going to fail next? Where am I going to just not land correctly, but at the same time come out stronger by failing? So uh,
Yeah,
I, I
and
think
I
I definitely
imagine it's also sorry about that. I imagine that
no,
it's
you're good.
also keeps things interesting. Uh,
Indeed,
right?
indeed,
Yeah, that's
definitely.
that is super cool because I think that the interesting thing about working with a platform like Unity is just how much you can actually accomplish with the tools at hand. And I would imagine that as someone who has to put themselves in the developer's shoes day to day, you must have a lot of fun just coming up with like absurd things to try and build and see like, oh, hey, can we use this netcode to do this thing? Or, and sort of experiment and play around. And I imagine there's been times too where developers have come to you and said like, hey, can we use your tooling to do this? And then you're just like, I have never considered that before. Let's try it out and see how badly it goes.
Yes, it has happened, and honestly, sometimes this is just if I don't have the answers, I don't have the answers. Again, like it's yeah, there's nothing wrong with being like, you know what? Let me get back to you. Like, let me actually reach out to the real experts, the people who are actually behind the knowledge and behind making this actual SDK happen and all these services happen, and let me actually get you a real expert answer on it. So it has happened, and of course, one of the cool things is that from those questions, what's actually there behind is the desire to like, oh wait a minute, opportunity. I want to make this awesome cool game. I want to make this awesome cool experience, whatever the user has in mind. And maybe this SDK or maybe this X service might actually help me get to my crazy idea. So we welcome that a lot. Like hell yeah.
Has anything interesting come up in relation to past game jams? Anything you can remember? Maybe some weird ideas that actually worked out really well in the 48 hours?
Um, well, but even yesterday, like as you know, as you definitely revealed, the theme of this global game jam is duality, and it's weird how it's weird how lots of different talks, even dark talks, like political, whether it's political, and then all of a sudden we get. I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to like throw or like super reveal like our game right from the start, but we got from dark talks, political, economic issues, society, and then we got to magnets. All of a sudden, like but I'm gonna leave it at that for now. But that's like the most recent. It's funny. It's funny how when you get a group of people, obviously everybody brings their own ideas and what they would like to achieve. But again, it's always the like the average of all of everyone's goals and everyone's desires. But that was like the biggest turn that I was like I did not expect it. All right, but that's game development. That's the beauty of it as well.
Yeah, there have been some really interesting ideas already submitted to the website. So I feel like I can talk about those since they're up there and you can go to globalgamejam.org and view them yourselves. But like I
I should
saw
do that
one
too.
where you had to Yeah, you should look. Like, there's a lot that deal with like light and dark, black and white, sort of what you think of immediately when it comes to duality. And then there's one that's like a visual novel type game where you have to choose to side with either a dove or a crow. And I was like slowly making my way through it. It was written in Spanish, and my Spanish is not that great, unfortunately, but it was like such a wild idea. It's really fun to hear where people end up, just starting from such a simple concept as duality.
Indeed.
So
A dove or a crow? That's okay. I want to learn more about that. I'm gonna check out the website. Definitely.
yeah, it's really cool. So sort of cycling back to Unity a little bit. I know that Unity is sponsoring one of the diversifiers, and I kind of wanted to ask you about it because it's a very interesting diversifier. The title of it is "Don't Go Alone, Take This." And the subcaption is, the Global Game Jam is all about people coming together, sharing ideas, and making them a reality. So create a game about people or things coming together that includes a unique focal item. What is this? So it sounds like your team is already maybe using magnets as a focal item, but like if you had to pick something as a focal item that maybe isn't related to what you're going to end up doing in a couple hours, what is this in your mind?
The since I got out of Christmas seasons and back home, and we have the longest Christmas in the world. I'm not exaggerating. Like they actually ended a few days ago, and Christmas in Puerto
Wow.
Rico back home they actually start basically right after Thanksgiving. The item that comes to mind are planetas. So it's this set of musical instruments. They're percussion instruments that bring a lot of. They're very simple to play instead of like the requinto, which is like the one drum that you get to improvise on it. But it's it's these set of percussions and that people can play our genre of music, which is called plena, and there's lots of Christmas songs that can be played with these instruments, and people, even if it's just people clapping and singing. But that's music is definitely very powerful, and something that people that are aligned with like some political values and other political values can actually come together. Music is very powerful and very very present in our culture, and around Christmas it's it's just simply amazing to grow up and witness that as well. So it helped, and not only helped us in Christmas, it also helps us after the horrors of Hurricane Maria, during a recent political protest. But in Christmas is a very it is very present there as well. That unifying aspect of music, and yes, it's just lovely. Again, sorry to ramble, but it's just what came to mind to my heart. So yeah.
Well, you're talking to a fellow musician, so I definitely feel that in my heart as well. And music does have an interesting duality to it. While a lot of music is based around coming together, you can come together in happiness, you can come together in times of mourning or sorrow. So that really
Very
is an
correct.
interesting
Very.
concept to explore. And you also talked a lot about like the culture of Puerto Rico. And I know earlier on, I think it was like right after we first started chatting, you gave a shout out to the game development community out in Puerto Rico and how passionate they are. And I'm curious if maybe some of the cultural values are sort of what leads to that passion and leads to that active scene, because it sounds like it's going to be quite a great game jam down there. And it sounds like there's also some fantastic indie studios down there as well right now.
Yeah, no, there definitely is, and of course, I would extend it to the whole world as well. And that's a cool thing about it. Like every definitely every culture brings in their own charm and their own flavor to the game jam, which again is a part of the beauty of it. But and but definitely in fact I'm gonna have to give a shout out because in order to prep for this talk, I even listened a little bit to Elaine's talk. Shout out to Elaine, one of the head of the PR GDA, and also very active in the Latinx in gaming Discord server on how to actually bring Puerto Rican values and to your game, and whether it and not it's not one of the points that Elaine mentioned. It's not just, oh, slapping the Puerto Rican flag here and you're done. No, it's actually core values. How do you represent them in your game, and and make sure that you bring that diversity to the game industry. Whereas I don't know if you agree, but like sometimes it can feel that a lot of games sort of like seem to be the same, maybe a little bit different from one another, but um, but yeah, it like I feel like a lot in the game industry, not just from diversity and bringing Puerto Rican a flavor of Puerto Rican mix to it, but at the same time, maybe other countries that haven't had the proper chance of bringing in their flavor to the mix. So yes.
Yeah, it's like music again, right? You know, different
Hmm.
types of music from different locations around the world will sound different. You know, maybe they just have different instruments available to them. Maybe just their tonal system, you know, their scales are just completely different from the ones that you would encounter in Western
True.
music. And there's just that benefit of, you know, being able to observe and appreciate those differences and appreciate what those different types of stories and you know, music and everything brings to the table. And I've personally loved recently how you know, the fact that Unity is so accessible for someone who just wants to pick it up for 48 hours and make a game, or
Indeed.
the fact that you can just go on a website and see like a list of thousands, if not millions, of games that people have made, and just really sort of see the cultural differences and see those stories that people want to tell. You know, it's not just like you go on the singular store for your console of choice and you have like AAA titles all the way down. It's a very fun time to be a gamer because there is that opportunity for discovery that really didn't exist in the past.
Oh, heck yeah! Like not just and obviously not just Unity. Unreal as well has their own source and assets, but definitely um, I wish I had the level of learning that is available today. Uh, Not just, for example, when you log into Unity Learn with all the free lessons, and like you mentioned, the asset store, and but yeah, just all the YouTube channels, all the YouTube tutorials, which again come from a lot of countries as well. There's a lot of people, obviously, a lot of people from the US, a lot of people from Canada, a lot of people from Europe, Latin America. Uh, it's out there. It's out there. But but another, and that's something that I would recommend to everyone doing a game jam, is that if you if you're trying to tackle a mechanic or something, and you find that there's an asset in the store, and obviously if it's a free one, then definitely take advantage of it, and don't reinvent the wheel. Like if maybe if you're trying to make a shooter and all you found was a character that shoots the way that a character that shoots the way that you want it to, but the model is a banana, get it. Just start with the banana and just go with it. And aesthetics and visual design, change it after, but get that core mechanic and that core fun of the game first, rather than focusing on the extra visual details. Like those first two uh, those first hours are to make sure that your game is fun, and that you're actually achieving your design pillars or your core goals, whatever, or your main user flow, whatever you want to call it, but the solid foundation of your game.
I personally like to call it the lazy approach. If I can get somebody to do
Lazy
something
approach,
for me
nice.
via open source, I will take them up on that until, I have
Oh yeah.
motivation to roll something myself.
No, me too. Me
Um,
too. I'm like, in fact, and of course, obviously, credit. Be
oh,
cool
of
and like
course. Yeah,
credit the people.
100%.
Hell yeah! Like give a shout out to the people who created the script, the tool, the model, all of it, the banana, like everything.
Yeah, be lazy, not a thief. I think that's the takeaway.
Exactly.
If you're gonna
Very good.
Uh, but we are almost out of time here, and I do want to give I do have a couple questions related to someone, like, so for example, I have a background in coding. I have zero experience in Unity. If I wanted to try and use
Hmm.
Unity for the game jam, like, where would be the best place to start, and where could I look to for support, like, during the game jam, if, let's say, a YouTube video just is not answering the questions that I have, or if someone on Stack Overflow just decided to peace out and just never tell me what the answer was.
Well, definitely first step would be obviously make your account, go to Unity Learn, and check out like the very basic tutorials on how to get started. And in fact Unity also has pre-made samples with already made components, like the one I mentioned earlier, which is a city where you're erasing a little cart, like in Mario Kart. The physics are already there. There's a little bit of gameplay, and there's pieces in the world where you can start messing around and changing colors, changing places, even changing the track. But definitely also reach out on the Unity forum. But above that, my favorite would be join the Discord server. In Join the Discord server, the Unity official Discord server. And sorry that I don't have the link right there with me, but I would directly send it to you so that we can share it with everyone. But simple Google search will help. And one of the best, honestly, the best resources, if you're in a team and you're surrounded by people who know the tool more than you, right there. That's your primary source of help, and for everyone who are experienced in those in tool, whether it's Unity, whether it's Unreal, whatever engine, help your teammates. Be there, be there for as a resource. In fact, one of my earliest, the last game jam that I participated last year, nobody knew about how to use GitHub. So you know what I did? I just straight up went on a Google Doc sheet and wrote up in like an hour and a half a simple, crummy looking, but at least basic information on how people can actually commit, how they can push changes to master, how they can pull. I didn't go all the way to like solving conflicts or anything, but I acted as the resource for my team, and thankfully we were able to work with our repository. Nobody necessarily came out an expert on GitHub, but hey, they actually learned. They came forward. So same way that user, or that person that is on your team that doesn't know a lot of Unity or doesn't know Unity at all, help them out. That's the purpose of the team. Support each other.
Yeah, lift each other up is the way that
Keep
I
each
like
other
to
up.
phrase it. So thank you so much for your time, Esteban. Do you have any other shout outs or anything else you'd like to sort of call out before we wrap things up?
Well, not particular come at the moment. Obviously, a shout out to everyone who is actually dedicating their time and their effort to this, because you're growing. And this is one of the best opportunities that you can give yourself and your teammates by supporting each other and dedicating this effort and time. That is an investment in a way in your own growth, and you'll learn a lot. Whether you've been in a game jam before or not, you'll find out that you'll learn. you'll learn a lot and you'll make good connections. Definitely make good connections out there. So yeah, my shout out is to the participants that are going to enjoy this awesome weekend. So yeah, if I had a drink or something, I would say cheers.
I got you. Cheers.
Nice.
Well,
Awesome.
well, thank you so much for your time, Esteban. Best of luck to
Thank you for
you
having
and
me.
all the teams around the world participating in Game Jam this weekend. If you'd like more information about this year's Global Game Jam, where the theme is duality, you can head on over to globalgamejam.org, and you can also check them out on Twitter at Global Game Jam. So best of luck, everybody. I cannot wait to see what games you're working on out there. Make sure to have fun, and we'll see you real soon.
Take care, everyone. Wepa.